community's acclaim spreads. Word of our 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 community's acclaim spreads.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another fantastic Tuesday here on the Exploding Dice channel. My name is Askren, and you are hanging out on Fuzzy Dice, the Dungeon Master Show. You can see it's right up there. You're listening, of course, to the dulcet tones of Optimus Rhymes serenading you with our little theme song. How's it going, everyone? We have a great show for you here today. I'm hanging out on this side of me. I'm getting it right this time with my good friend and butt buddy, Jay. How's it going, man? Hold on, wait.
I like that overlay, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It's the finest craftsmanship money can buy, even though I paid nothing for it. Oh man. Before we dive into it, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself, who you are, how you got here, maybe life story?
So it all started one day when I saw a woman in the mirror. I've recently started DMing 4 months ago, and we now have our own show on Twitch called Table Story, where I DM'd Ascendance, and then we have Brad Wodo, who's been on the show, right? He was on. Yeah. He does our Storm King's Thunder campaign, which we just brutally killed off to make way for a new one. And that's I just run Table Story now. That's my thing until I start DMing again.
Awesome, man. Jay and I have been working really hard to get him on the show, so I'm glad to have him here. And by working hard, I mean I've been sending him messages, and he's been ignoring me.
I have been like, hey man, it might work out one day. When the moon aligns, I might have time. AKA, like, I might pull my ass off the couch after a 6-hour stream. It might happen.
It's all good. But we are here now. How's it going, Cranky? How's it going, Firebringer? All you guys in chat. What's going on? If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that retweet link. Dice Thulu has it for you right there. You can share that link with everyone. Tell everyone you're hanging out here on the Fuzzy Dice Show, and you're having a good time. So before that will work. I promise you. Before we dive into the good stuff, which is all the D&D juiciness, we just got a couple announcements for you guys. Let me turn up the Celtic background music that I got on right now, and we will. I got some announcements, just real quick. If you guys are just joining us for the first time, you can hit that follow button and either here or on Twitter, and that means you're already entered in our monthly giveaway because all you have to do is follow on Twitch and Twitter, so, free entries. This month for March, which the month is almost over, we got a couple more days left in that, but we are giving away a brand new 5th edition Dungeon Master's Guide, as well as a Curse of Strahd hardcover copy, as well as a Curse of Strahd Dungeon Master screen, and some dice, all that good stuff packaged together, everything you need to get started DMing. It's all right in there. And that will be ending right at the end of March, so you got a couple more days to get in and potentially win that. I think one of Jay's followers swooped in last month and won my player's handbook.
Really?
And made me send it to Norway.
Oh God, yeah. We got a lot of EU people that watch the stream. God bless Europe right now. They're like 90% of my viewership. I love them all. It's because I stream in the morning.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah, people have been asking me to do morning or early afternoon games for the EU people. Yeah. I'm like, I would, but I work.
Yeah, I heard this. What you gotta quit your job and just pursue an internet career like the rest of us did 6 years ago.
We're working towards it. No, we're getting there. One day I will be free of the shackles of work, and I will be D&D full time. Did someone say Norway? Yes, I said Norway. That was me. I'm over here.
Who won it last month? I'm curious.
I would have to go back into my DMs on Twitter to find it. So that is the giveaways right there. Dice Thulu has a link. You can hit that link and just get yourself some stuff. Also, I've just been talking with our really cool team, the Twitch Game Network. Or the Tabletop Game. I was one of the two. TGN. It's our stream team that does all kinds of really cool tabletop gaming and board gaming. Awesome people like Saving Throw Show and Twist Gaming and all these really great people. Henley's on there. And we're right now working on a big cooperative event for International Tabletop Day. We're going to be doing an all-day thing that's going to be, going between each channel, and it's going to be a really, really cool event. So I'm excited to share more details as those come out with you guys, but definitely April 29th is Tabletop Day, so this is the place that you want to be looking for all of that goodness. I announced it last week, or I announced it, I think yesterday or last week, that we are... you should free up your Wednesdays because we have a new show that's coming to the channel. I can't tell you the specifics, but I can tell you when we get some more information. It is a brand new D&D 5th edition show, and that's coming to our Wednesday slot. So if you guys want more D&D goodness in your life, that's where you want to be. And last but not least, of course, if you do enjoy the show and you want to support the channel, you can hit us up on GameWisp. It's right there, the link that Dice Lulu has for you, not WSIP. Dice Lulu has a link for you, and you get all kinds of cool stuff that lets you interact with the stream, Discord, and the games that we run on this channel. So definitely consider becoming one of Dice Lulu's minions. Like, who was that person that I just missed their name? Sorry, someone just followed and I missed their name, and I'm sad about that.
Is it Alex Fully Lives?
I can't see.
It says it on the overlay, I think.
Oh, does it? There it is. Okay.
Hey.
Alex Tully Lives, thank you for joining us and welcome to the madness, my friend. Thank you so much. All right, so that's enough of me rambling about announcements. We're here. We know who we're here for. We're here for Jay. We're here for you, man.
What?
This is all for you.
I knew it. You started the show a year ago, just for me. Just for me. I mean, it's pretty much been that long since we've been trying to get me on the show.
Yeah, basically.
I messaged you this time, and I was like, yo,
yeah,
let's get me on the show.
Yeah, and I was like, how's tomorrow?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I didn't even expect it. I was like, I don't know, how is tomorrow? I don't even know my own schedule.
Oh, man. So, you were telling us a little bit, but you actually, I think the reason that we started talking, like, 6 months ago or so, like that, something like that, you had just started DMing, right?
Yeah. That was. Oh, so I thought it was 4 months. Yeah, it was about last September or something like that. Yeah,
something like that.
It's been a short while. It kind of feels like a little longer. I think I've wanted to DM since I first got into D&D. No, that's a complete fucking lie. I wanted to DM for like probably the past year, and then finally I was like, let's do it. Like, let's jump in finally. And it was Critical Role that got me into DM.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, it was Mercer.
Yeah,
it was 100%. It was Mercer. I mean, how could you not want to do what he does after seeing what he does, right? Like, I saw that and I was like, I'm gonna be better than him.
It's like I could do that. Yeah,
it's easy. Yeah. Okay.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But so what would you? I guess that's interesting because I've talked to a few people who are newer in the DM the DM category. I guess Dodger,
yeah.
People like that. But one of the questions that is always interesting to me is like, was it what you expected? Did it kind of go how you expected? Did you kind of get kicked in the ass a little bit?
It's been a ride. Definitely. It's been, I've gone in kicking and screaming. Like it was probably actually a little easier than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like my first few shows, I was so nervous. Like I went and did like 2 shots of tequila and I was like, oh, all right, we're good. Now it's just kind of like all right, what the fuck, what are they going to fuck up today? Like what's going to happen? But also like I have been bitten in the ass by, I guess probably my own arrogance of like thinking I'm good enough that nothing will go wrong, right? And everything always fucking goes wrong,
mm-hmm.
right? That's kind of the it's kind of the synopsis of D&D is whatever can go wrong, abso-fucking-lutely.
Oh yeah,
will.
Oh yeah,
always, right? Yeah.
And by the way, thank you, Rob, James Morgan, and Simply JXN for the hosts. Thank you guys. Drink to both of you.
Oh, are we drinking?
I'm drinking. I just got off work. That's what I do. We have. Right. I don't know if you know this. We have drinking rules on our show. Not on this show, right. But on my D&D show. We have drinking rules.
I've always wanted to run like a drinking episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like an episode about drinking.
Just like like you throw them in a tavern. There's like rules for every nat one they have to drink. For every like whatever I have to drink, right?
Our drinking rules are pretty simple. It's on a nat 1, the party has been sabotaged and the party has to drink. On a nat 20, the DM's been sabotaged and the DM has to drink. And then on a new follower, everyone drinks.
Oh my god, dude, that's what the fuck. Every follower?
Well, I mean, we're not like a fucking huge ass channel. We don't. And we just maybe.
I mean, one day you're gonna get raided and you're gonna be like, what
Did
do I do? Like,
the only time I ever really did, I really did like heavy drinking on stream was the channel / my birthday stream. It was this past February, and I decided to do $2 shots, and I had all of my like a couple of our community came in and they like donated the shit out of that, and that was a mistake.
We gotta talk. That's $2. You are underestimating your worth there. I would have been like $50 a shot, boys. Like that is you crazy. I couldn't do it. Yeah, I've played in one drunken episode, and thankfully, like I can handle my liquor.
Yeah.
So it's it's just me, but a much dumber me. But like I love watching drunk episodes. Except for when they actually get drunk, right? It's fun up to the point where they get drunk, and then it's fucking horrendous. Because it's right? It's terrible because they have no idea what they're doing. I think there's like an actual formula, like a legitimate calculation. Like for every drink that you've had past 2 drinks, you add 15 minutes to the session. Because if you're in combat, you add an extra half hour per drink.
That sounds a lot like my party size rule. I used to have a rule because when I was DMing on Roll20, and you get a lot of people asking to play, and people would want to bring in their friends and stuff. I used to have a rule that like every party member after 4 adds 10 minutes to every combat.
Oh yeah. I think what I've heard is it's about 15 minutes per combat, or every party member after 4 adds an hour to the session, just because of all the role play and including combat. So
yeah, give or take. Yeah, that's my that's one of the rules that I kind of use, like my how I keep my party small. Some people are DMing for like 8 people, and I'm like, I do not envy you in any way.
Yeah. My roommate, she just started DMing for her friends, and they do like a once a month kind of thing. But she was like, oh yeah, it's 8 people, and I was like, no, don't do that.
No, don't do that.
Hate yourself, right?
Don't do it.
I think the next show we launch is maybe going to be 5 people, which is going to be interesting because Brad was like, I don't want to, and I was like, we're going to, it's going to happen.
Is he wait? Oh, is that for Curse of Strahd?
Yeah, that's for our Forgotten Mist campaign, which is where we went to Barovia. So we I think we start that in like 2 or 3 weeks or something. Whenever I can lock people down and get all our whatever's done, the stuff that doesn't matter but still needs to be there, the overlays and all that stuff. 5 players. I've DM'd for 5 players at home, and it's much more fun for me. I feel like 5 players is weird because with 4, you get either 3 people or 3 people's characters love each other, and there's an odd one out, or it's 2 and 2, right?
Maybe my only thing about party size is the only gripes that I tend to have is it doesn't have it. It's never anything to do about the inter-party connections or who likes it. It's always because I'm always thinking in terms of absences. So in a 4-person party, if one person is absent, you can still run a game, right? You could still run a 3-person game. But for example, like some people DM for 3 people. If you DM for 3 people and one person's absent, you can't play because you can't play D&D with 2 people. And in a 5-person party, if one person's absent, you still have 4 people. That kind of thing.
That's also a fail-safe. You can DM for 2 people.
You can.
For 1, like I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's the thing. It can be done. It's not something I would do. But yeah, it's because again, just in my world, like I always am thinking about absences. Because it's a part of life.
Yep. Yeah, absences are my worst nightmare. Because it's just you're ready and raring to go.
Oh,
they always happen at the worst time too, right?
Especially when you're on stream, man. Ever since I started streaming, absences became like.
At home, they don't matter.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But it became like the thing that I live in fear of.
Yeah. Because you have this villain, you're going to introduce them or something, or like, okay, they've gotten to the end of the dungeon, or they're about to go into this village. This character has to be there 20 minutes before. They're like, hey, I've got food poisoning. You're like, Well,
How many
you
times
still play? Like,
how many times in your life have you been about to like dealing with a certain player's like very specific story, or like we're about to meet this player's parents, that they've never seen before, or like, or the villain that is hunting them specifically, and it's like, oh, I can't make it.
Yep, that's everything. Honestly, every single absence we've ever had. It's never. I see. I don't know about Brad because I don't think we've. Thankfully, Storm Kings has been a really, really stable show.
Yeah,
everybody is really committed, and they won't miss an episode unless they have to. Not to say that about Ascendants that they weren't, but it was our players had or my players had much more going on. It seemed right? Like Elspeth had voice acting gigs, and she also had her stream right around the same time. And Fairlight Excalibur, he had some promotions that he had to do sometimes. So it was much more like they were a lot more busy. But every goddamn time there was a cancellation, it was right as like something was about to happen.
Oh yeah,
important. Like if it was just I was like, why not the episode where you were walking through the mountains? They could have dragged you, right?
Yeah.
You didn't matter then. Now you matter. So yeah, that I feel that's so hard, man. So hard. And when it rains, it pours.
Now, because I guess you and I had talked a little bit about this before the stream, but I guess one of the things that you wanted to touch on, and we did get into it a little bit, but there's definitely I think more we could talk about, is you were asking me a little bit about my prep, and so I'm how I prep for a game, and I'm actually interested, like, because because as I mentioned and as I've said a couple times on the show, I used to prep a shit ton, right? I used to be a huge prep DM because I did not feel comfortable unless I had everything ready to go. And I meant like rumors that ready in case they asked about something, like NPCs with their motivations, names of shops, and then it was even down to, I can show you my old notes. It was even down to like, I would break the session down into what it pretty much was having, what was going to happen, beat, conclusion. And then obviously things don't go that way, so you have to kind of warp it as you go. But what was your prep like when you started versus like now?
So this is funny because with Ascendants, obviously in the campaigns I play as, I actually feel like I do a little bit more prep for when I play because I have to get into the character. But like this whole book was prep for Ascendants. So like I had all of the cities written down. I had who they were ruled by, if there was a god, because it was a pretty god heavy campaign. Not religious, but the gods meddled a lot. It was there a god in the town? And there was one or two where like the gods would walk among them. That was one of the town's slogans. That was what they kind of prided themselves on. And then I had all of the gods separated into these kind of like playing card houses, where knight, queen, king, virgin, etc. So I had written down all of that. Those were necessary things. And the first couple of sessions I was like, okay, this is this is going to come in, you're going to do this, hopefully this is where you're going to go, this is what I'm going to present to you, this is the timing of it, this and this. And I think by the third session I realized like they're never going to do what I want, right?
Yeah.
This was my first campaign too, right? And it was homebrew, and I was like, okay, like they're never going to do what I want. So from at that point on, I was like, all right, here's a main story that if they go here, they're going to encounter this. And I quickly like changed it. I said, here's a side quest per city. That's a main side quest, kind of like when you enter a new city in like The Witcher or any game that you've played, you get a main story to go to. And I was like, this is anything that they can hit on if they'd like to. And the rest, I'll just make shit up. Like here's hoping, here's sincerely hoping they won't hate it, right?
Yeah.
So now I don't prep at all. But my prep at first was not so much before, not so much session based. Then it became more session based, and now it's like none.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even like world building anymore.
I see, that's the thing, is I never really liked world building. I still don't. Like, I've never been one of those DMs who can, like, how some DMs seem to be able to, like, they get so excited over like a fresh world map, and they're like, oh, and I want to populate it with this city and this city, and elves are like this. And to me, that always kind of felt like, it always felt bland, because it's like, you have all these homebrew settings that everyone makes, and it's like, to me, they might as well be, the same as any other. I don't really, I never really got excited about that. But recently, I get a lot more interested in more interested in building connections and story that I can weave into I love revealing twists in a story, right? So if my prep requires me to build a world where this is connected to this and this leads to this and this person is doing this, such that I can then craft a story to kind of tell that over a long period of time and then have a really, really cool reveal at some point.
Yeah.
That gets, that's what I will go in for. And I don't do any session prep really anymore. I sometimes sit down I'm all right, I need to write what I need for this session, and then work and, doing graphics and, getting social media and all that gets in the way. And I get to the session and I'm like, yeah, I guess that thing that was swirling around my head that I thought was going to happen will just happen, and then we'll work on it later.
Yeah. I started to prep, I think, a little bit more near the end of Ascendance, because I felt like my strongest point is my improv, but that's also my weakest point, right? Mm-hmm. Ironically, because it got to the point where it was just it was like, okay, this happened, but it didn't feel like it had any depth, and it kind of felt like they just floated through. So
I've been there.
I would start to just make a quick Google Doc of here's my expectations for the night. And if they go here, this might be waiting for them. Here's the DC for this, right? There's a pond over here where a Rusalka is sitting, and she's gonna drag him in, hopefully, if he goes there. There's a city over here. Here's an encounter that might get them into the city. If they don't go in there, they don't go in there, right? And then that's just that is the minimal bare bones that I'll do from now on. It's just a quick write-up of here's what might happen. Here's kind of a general thing, so I have some kind of thing to throw at them. But for the most part, I usually just go off script from that as well. I actually world building. I don't like it, but it is necessary in a lot of parts. But I much prefer building characters. I don't even like building a story, because if there's one thing I've learned personally is that at least the players that I've gone for and watched as well, is they give no shits about the story, right? Mm-hmm. They just care about their own stories. So it's up to you to weave that story into their stories, or rather theirs into yours.
True. I mean, and that is I think that's probably why a lot of my work for a campaign is sort of front loaded in the session 0 stuff. Yeah. Because you're right. I don't know that my players will care about, for example, in my home game, my players are trapped on an island, and they just dealt with a plague in this city, right? Yeah. And they weren't setting out to cure the plague, but because they were living in the city and sort of surrounded by it, they kind of ended up doing things that were fighting the plague, and eventually they found the cult that was causing the plague, and they're one of the players' mothers, his old kind of sickly mother, is in this hospice where this cult is sending the plague out from. It's okay, they've gotta go beat these fucking cultists up, and in the process they're gonna stop the plague, and stuff. But they may not necessarily care about that, but it's but that's why I try and front load all that stuff into the connections that the players and the characters have to the world around them, because that is where you're going to make them care about what's going on, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you can convince a player to invest in a story later on. You can, but it's harder to get them to invest in a story that is just given to them at level 7, right? Mm-hmm. But it's easy to make them invest in something that is that they've been kind of tangential to for a while, or that it's built into who their character is, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the best way to do it, from what I've seen and experienced, is offer it to them lightly, and if they pick up on it, then you build it out more, right? Even just a small rumor about something, or because you never know what they're gonna, if they say hey, what do I hear around me? Cool, let me make up a quick rumor about some mines, and then build a story off of that if they seem interested. Or just introduce something they can't ignore, right? The world will die.
Yeah.
And they're well, do we give a shit? You're you probably should. The world's gonna die. Yeah, I guess so, we should save that.
Yeah. To me, again, when I go back to the session 1 stuff, it's like and I know you were talking a little bit about a campaign you wanted to run. And I was I was mentioning the Curse of the Crimson Throne. Did we? I don't know.
No, you're good. You
all
froze for a second. We're back.
Yeah, now it's telling my connection's unstable. It's all right. It's all good. No, so in Curse of the Crimson Throne, like that's my urban campaign. My biggest task at the beginning of the game, right, is because you're in a city, right? If shit's gonna go down in this city, it's very easy for players to say like, okay, we just leave. We'll just go somewhere else. So the question is, how do you make that not an option for the players, right? How do you take that option off the table? Well, you do that by making them care about the city around them, and you can't make them care about the whole city, but you can make them care about specific parts of it, and that's why, like for Crimson Throne, it's in Korvosa. Korvosa is a Pathfinder in the Pathfinder world. Luckily, there's an entire guide that Paizo published about. It's like 100-something pages about just this city, right?
Oh, wow.
And so what I do is, like, I hand the players that, and I say, I don't need you to read the whole thing. I don't need you to be familiar with the whole thing. I just need you to pick one part of this that you think is cool. And that's the part we'll focus on for your character, right?
Yeah.
So if your character really likes the organized crime in this city, well, then that's what you build your character on. That's what we'll focus on for your narrative and this and that and your character arc. And then later on in the story, when that comes up and that becomes a big point, now you have their attention, right?
Yeah. I don't. I feel like with me, there's a lot of the time, like, or a lot of the times I've introduced them to something, and the second they don't seem into it, I just I throw it away.
Yeah.
If they are, I'm like, okay, this will get resolved in some other way, right? If there's a woman being chased by a wolf and they don't care, all right, she's probably dead. But like, I don't think I could ever force my players to do anything. And a lot of the times, like, the players still don't seem to trust us ever.
Yeah.
Right. I tell them all the time, I'm like, dude, if you have something cool to do, like tell me and I will help you. Right. I'm not the bad guy. I just control the bad guys. But you introduce, like, I introduced a character. It was a kid. They were soldiers. They were sent into the town to recon, and there was a kid there that recognized them as soldiers and was basically like asking, like, why are you a soldier? Why would you do, my mother just died just weeks ago. Why would you do this? Right. Blaming it on them. And they hated the kid. They fucking hated him. Right. And I was like, how? Like,
yeah,
I didn't understand at first. I was like, how did that not have any effect? And then I realized it's just, I think it's one of those, it kind of ruins their verisimilitude where they're taken out of that world. They can tell you're throwing something at them.
Yeah.
They know, right?
Yeah, there was a character I had, and I'm trying to remember exactly which game it was because I have a bunch of them, but I did something similar, and I threw this NPC at the players, and they were supposed to get along with this NPC. Oh, it was okay. It was in my Jade Region campaign, right? And so the players are in this swamp, and all they're doing is they're hunting goblins. There's a goblin tribe somewhere in the swamp, and they need to hunt them down. And they know that there's someone named the Warden in the swamp, right? They don't know who he is, but he's just a dude that takes care of the swamp. And so eventually they find the Warden's house, and when they open the door, they meet him, and he's kind of shifty, and he's very clearly lying, and he's very clearly hiding something. And so, like, eventually they get into it, they can tell, they kind of start interrogating him, right? And they very quickly realize that this is not the Warden. This is a faceless one, which is a shapeshifter that has beat him up and taken his place, and just wants the players to get away. So whatever, a fight breaks out. They kill this thing. The Warden is actually locked in a room upstairs.
Oh, no.
Right? And so the players go up to the room, and they eventually find his hidden room, and he literally, like, they're outside the locked door, and literally all he does... Now, this is the real Warden. He is a victim here. He's done nothing wrong, and he doesn't know that the players are outside to help him. So he says, if you come in here... He says, I have a crossbow. If you come in here, I will shoot. So the player kicks the door open. He fires his crossbow. Instantly, they hate this character forever, and they like want to burn his fucking house down.
Oh man!
And I'm like, okay, like, there's no saving this situation. Like, you're not gonna get the information you wanted out of him. You're not gonna get the help you wanted. It's just,
Beautiful, dude.
we're done. This part of the swamp is done.
You know, I love that so much because I like in our Sunday campaign. So for Storm King's Thunder, we, which is the one I play in as what used to be the neutral paladin, the neutral gnome paladin.
Mm-hmm.
We were fucking murder hobos, and I didn't realize for the longest time until we met this like half dwarf, half ogre, and he was just living in his own little hut. One of the NPCs that we met alongside this in this little hut was a dwarf that was being tended to by this ogre.
Mm-hmm.
And the dwarf looked exactly like our party member. And so they start to go back at it. Beautiful RP, right? From like from a DM's perspective, I was sitting back like, wow, this is amazing. Like,
yeah.
Holy shit. They start insulting each other, combat breaks out, and he just beheads the guy. And I sat there like, I was like in the doorway stopping the other players from coming in. And I was like, holy shit, dude, we are fucking murder hobos. Like, they were like, do we kill the ogre too? And I was like, well, fuck, we might as well, right? And it kind of led me to think, because then when I played or when I GM'd on the Tuesday after, I was like sitting there halfway through the session. I was like, holy shit, these guys are murder hobos too. Like these players, they're all assholes. Everybody in D&D, they're all assholes. Like all of my players are assholes in every situation. It's so easy to be a murder hobo, man, and nothing ever fucking goes right. Nothing ever goes right. I hate it. And I love it.
Which is such a funny thing that you mentioned that, because again, my Friday campaign, like, I always like the party is in this city that is the city itself is functionally lawful evil. It's run in large part by the Church of Asmodeus, which is a lawful evil church, but they're really good at running government because they love, law and contract is their jam. Mm-hmm. So it's not uncommon for people in this city to be Asmodean worshippers or evil. Because in the way I view it, evil in D&D just means selfish. It doesn't necessarily mean like evil. But so I have this party, and over time I've been realizing like because it's an adventure. The adventure keeps pushing them into heroic situations where they have to like where they are expected to choose to save the day or save people's lives or something like that, right? But they never they always do that. They always beat the bad guy, right? But they never do it in a heroic way. It's always like it's always like there's a drug lord. It's always like, okay, we're gonna kill him, but we're also gonna take his shiver. Because we can sell that later, it's they're never good people. And so they have a barbarian who will happily fucking murder anyone, and the party is fine with this, and I just, because that's what they want to do, and because they're so into that, like, it becomes on me to say, like, okay, well, then I need to sort of change the tone of this world. Like, the world needs to be as big of a dick to them as they are to it, because that's clearly, that's the interaction they want. And they, they're, like, for example, party barbarian wanted to open up a fighting ring, specifically so we could beat the shit out of random people, like, and not get in trouble for starting fights. And so he worked really hard. Like, he worked almost a month of game time to construct this thing. And finally, when it's given to him, it's like, he wants to be known as the biggest badass in the city. He wants people to know him as the butcher of old Korvosa. And so we're, give it, like, it's important to kind of identify that and be like, okay, then, that's what my players want to do. I'm not going to punish them for wanting to play dick characters. Like, we just have to find a way to make that fun for everyone.
Yeah, it has to be like I think then you ramp up the consequences of the world. Right?
Yeah.
Then you ramp it up 100%. So it's I've had moments like that too, where I've had moments where I really want to punish them, like where it's like, here's an NPC that's being really kind to them, and they're like, we can't let him escape, we have to kill him. And I'm like, he's not even gonna attack you, he's just walking away. Like, he is leaving to go back home to his wife and kids, and they're like, no, we kill that motherfucker. Okay. Like, all right, we end the session, and I'm sitting there afterwards, like, telling my roommate, like, this bitch is a level 7 druid. Like, he's a level 7 druid. That's it. fuck them, they're dead. He's
Yeah.
a level 7 druid.
Everyone has class levels at that
he's
point.
a level 7 druid, and he's gonna beat the shit out of them. But like, and then
I love it.
look back and be like, you know what? That's fine. This time they'll go without consequences, but next time something's gonna happen, right? It's just like adding a little tick to the whiteboard, and then at 10, that's when like the universe rips open and demons start pouring through. And, like,
Well, I
see
mean,
what happens.
It does make sense, if your players love killing people, especially love killing people that probably they shouldn't be killing. I mean, the world will take notice at some point, like
exactly.
you will piss off someone who will hire a band of assassins to take you out or something like that, but I think that's kind of what I like. For example, I love my Friday group because if they ever talk to an NPC, like, how there's that moment where you fought through the dungeon and you're on the last guy and you could kill him, but you have that talk right before you cut his head off.
Yep.
If they get to that point and if they have a conversation with the enemy, they will always let him go. Every single time.
I love it. Yeah.
They never think they will, but I know in my head, I'm like, if they get him talking, they will let him go because that's just what they do.
Yeah, I love. I mean, so this is actually something interesting. Dialing it back from Murder Hobos.
Yeah.
Back to session 1.
Mm-hmm.
How many new players have you dealt with that their first instinct in a new party is to be the biggest asshole to everybody else for like seemingly no reason?
I was reading chat, but your question is how many new players just are natural, like trying to be unpersonable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you had a lot of those?
I've had a few. I have one in my head that like the weirdest story that stands out so much when you say that. Like, So I've definitely had groups break apart because people just couldn't, they're like, okay, I can't play with this person. This has happened before we even get into the game. But no, there was this one time a long time ago, back when I was DMing 4th edition, and we were playing with this group. And there's this one girl in the group that wanted to play like a ninja or something. Like, I don't remember what exactly. It was a rogue. And so the party starts and they're walking along. They're all kind of heading towards this town, and they just happen to be on the same road, right, with a lot of other people, and the road is going to be attacked by kobolds, and that's kind of how that they're brought together, right? They're attacked by kobolds. The rogue girl tells me, I'm not with the I'm not with the group, but I'm walking in the woods, like, with, she's like walking just out in the tree line, just keeping up with them. So when combat starts, she's seriously like hiding in the woods, and she throws a dagger out at one of the kobolds and hits it, whatever. And then, but she can't go get it because she can't reveal that she's there. So at the end of combat, one of the players finds the dagger and they're like, who the fuck is this from? Oh, well, I guess I'll take it. And so they take the dagger and they go into town and they get a room at the inn. And what does this girl do? Well, she's not with the party, but she needs to get her dagger back. So she breaks into the fucking inn that they're in, tries to steal the dagger. There's a warforged there who doesn't sleep, so he just raises the alarm, and they literally, they think they're being robbed, so they chase this girl out of the tavern and eventually beat her up and give her over to the police. And I'm like sitting there, most of this was out of my hands, and I'm like, I don't know how to handle this situation. I don't know what to do. There's a player that's crying now because she got beat up by the rest of the party. What do I do? And we never played a second session of that game.
That's actually beautiful. Like, I would have not expected that.
It was amazing. I
mean, honestly, like, good on the players because like that kind of, I don't know. I've had sessions before where the first thing they say they're riding on a wagon and one of them is like, hey, can I have a water skin? I'm like, hey, you guys are escorting this wagon.
Yeah.
You've all just met for the first time, and one of them is like, hey, can I get a water skin? And like, they just throw the water skin.
Fuck no.
Off. They throw the water skin back and it misses them. And I'm like, why the fuck would anyone do that? Like, who are you, right? I've talked about it a lot on stream too. I feel like it's just the first reaction of somebody RPing for the first time. Right? Yeah. They're uncomfortable, so they don't know what to do.
Honestly, though, it's not even just a new player story. Like, I've seen a lot of experienced players who their character's not antagonistic, but they will always play the first session with hesitance, and it's like, you meet another player, like, you're all brought to the same place, and like, who are you? Like, what are you
Yeah.
here for? Like, what can you do? And then, like, but you all know that you're here to be in, like, in the same
Yeah.
party. It's not like you're gonna meet
Super
in character
awkward
and then
moment.
be like, it's not you're gonna meet in character and then be like, you know what? I don't think I'll party with this guy. Like, I don't like him. Like, that's
It's a really awkward moment. Yeah, I love that though, because like that is where I think the first session is where parties are either made or broken for nearly rest of the campaign. It's obviously salvageable through bonding or whatever it may be, but like you have parties where I think like our Storm Kings one, where we had like by the end of the session, Brad had introduced us to a character that we already hated, which was this little gnome called Gum Gum that just like treated us like shit. And we already had like 5 inside jokes. And it was like okay, we all don't necessarily trust or like each other, but we know we're kind of stuck here both as players and as characters. So like why not just make the best of it? And then you have the opposite of that, which is like you just have the 1 or 2 characters that like when they make camp, those 2 characters will like sneak off and they'll sleep somewhere else just because like they don't want to be a part of the group, or they stalk in the forest not wanting to be a part of the group. And it's always such an awkward thing to get past, because it's like you have to party up.
Yeah.
Like you have to.
Yeah,
what do you do?
we're sitting down at the same table to play a game. Like, you already know where this is going,
Yeah.
Rob brings up a good point. He says, I've had a lot of I do this a lot with one shots, because especially with the one shots, like you don't want to deal with the with having to bring players together. So it's just like
Super hard.
you guys have been adventuring for a little while and you're just coming from a quest. What was that quest? And make up your own things, and then be like, okay, I'm this guy and I have this is my nickname for the the dwarf in the party or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's something you can do, but build when you're starting with a new campaign. Yeah, a lot of players kind of are they start with a character, but they're almost waiting for you as the DM to like build their relationship with the other players for them, and they're kind of trusting that you will give them the impetus to bring come together.
I think that's a lot of pressure a lot of the times, but easily doable. I think once you give them a common goal for the first time, and I've had success with just like, yeah, you guys might not like each other, but here's somebody that you'd hate even more. Like,
Yeah.
Here's an asshole, and they're like, wow, yeah, fuck that guy. Like, look, can you believe that? Like, I don't care that you pissed on my pillow. Look at that guy, right? And then they kind of have this common goal, common hatred, whatever it may be. It's usually the common hatred that works best. And then they come together.
The campaign Crimson Throne has one of the most interesting bringing characters together mechanics I've seen in a long time, and I really enjoy it because basically I don't know if if you've watched JP's game with the one they do with the tarot cards.
Court of Swords.
Yeah.
I've caught a couple of episodes.
Yeah. Well, so you know how the tarot card deck is a really big thing in that game, in that world. In this world, the Harrow card deck is a big part of the one of the cultures, the kind of Varisian gypsy culture here. And so the first thing, like, in the players start in the city, and obviously they make their characters, but basically the way you bring them together is you give them a card, right? And you kind of draw it for them from the deck, and it kind of it should sort of tell be read as a little bit about their past or their future or whatever. But all the players are you tell them, at some point in your life you've been wronged by this crime lord named Gadrin, right? And maybe he took your kids because he has young gangs of orphan kids that do work for him, or maybe he killed someone or maybe you were harmed by his drug trade, or whatever. Your life has been shaped in a negative way by this guy, and then the card that's how that you give them while building the character, right? So it's already in their mind. Okay, this guy fucked with me. And then you give them at the beginning of the session their card, and their card says like, I know this guy Gadrin fucked with you. I can help you get revenge. Come to this place. And they show up at the place with these 4 other people that also have the same card, and they're like, I guess we should go kill him. you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
because they're all brought together. There's a little bit more exposition and more story there, but it's like, but it's a really interesting mechanic
Yeah.
because it gives you the block for the players to build into their own characters, and then it gives you sort of this thing that you can kind of drum together with. The only problem I have is the same problem with every party is like once they kill the guy, it's like, all right, why are we still together?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's no reason to not kill it at that point, right? Like,
Yeah,
depending on how long that is, there's no reason why that can't just be that story. Like, I'm kind of a fan of like 5 to 6 session shows or stories where it's just a quick in and out, because then you have the option to like, it's almost like a feeler too, right? I mean, if specifically for Twitch, right? If you're trying to get a couple of people together, you give them a small story and then you play through it, and then if they love it, they keep going, and if they hate it, they're like, okay, your character kind of walks off into the sunset type deal. But I've definitely struggled with, and I think I've gone on a couple rants on my stream during the coffee time shows in the morning where you get a player that's they're just a fucking dick for like no reason to the rest of the party. You're like, man, it's gonna make your life hell. Like, it's not gonna make their life hell. It's gonna make your life hell. Like, you're the one that's not gonna get healed, or you're never gonna get any RP.
yeah.
I don't know.
I get questions about that a lot, about how do you deal with dick players, and you know I've said this on Twitter a lot, and I've said this in, you know, you could there's always the passive aggressive way of fucking with them in the game, but what I always say is like any solution that you want to engage in that doesn't involve like sitting down and talking about it like adults, probably not a solution, you know. But you know, you can ask people like, hey man, why is this the way you're choosing to play this? Like, is there something wrong? Are you not having fun? You know, obviously that's because dropping rocks on them, or you know, sending a monster after them or something like that, like, just gonna make them more annoyed and probably more dickish.
There's I think there's a fine line. Like, I don't think I think if somebody so this is my thought process is, a lot of people fall back on the like, oh, it's just my character. And it's like, okay, that's fine. And I think there's so many worse things you can do to them than killing them. And I love D&D because or RPGs because they are collaborative storytelling. So it's not just your story, it's theirs as well, right? And that's fine. Like, you can be a dick to everybody else, but like, I'm going to implement a couple of consequences, because if X person over here is a little bit sour about it, but they're not necessarily pissed off enough that I have to reach out to you, then like, that's fine. You know, your favorite weapon on a nat 1 eventually is going to shatter. Like, and you're going to either have to get it repaired or that's gone. You know, your armor may or may not get ruined by black ooze that may or may not be lurking around the corner at one point. Like, I definitely think there's way worse ways to punish than just killing somebody, right? And it would totally annoy them if you just straight up killed them off. But I think if that character doesn't exist, then they don't have an excuse anymore. So it's a really fine line to walk.
In theory, but I don't.
In theory, yeah. If the second character comes around and they're an asshole, then you'd be like, okay, dude, like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever kill a player as like a warning, like that, you know, this is your first one, your character's dead.
Yeah.
You know, next one, I'll take the next one out too if you're not. But well, you know. It's just,
I think I'm exaggerating to a T here, but like, I think at the same time, it's not necessarily. I mean, there's a fine line between the world punishing them and me punishing them. Both are kind of the same, but like, if I were to punish you, yeah, sure, rocks fall on you and you die. But like, I can subtly punish things, not that I don't necessarily like, but like, use that as an excuse to introduce things in the world, right? Like, if you're going to be a dick to the players, maybe someone's going to take notice. Like you said, if you're going to kill people, maybe eventually someone's going to hire assassins.
Now, here's the thing, and this is actually, I'm saying this just as Rustable Tech points this out in chat. Yeah. All the time, I have players that are like, their characters are dicks to each other or to NPCs, and you know, I always step in and I always say something out of chat, out of game, because it's like, you know, my first thought is, okay, if these players are having an argument, then that means that there may be a problem with the party. And almost universally, what I get back is like, no, that's just an in-character thing. Like we're cool. I'm having a great time with the game. It's just my character isn't happy at this moment. But that's just part of his arc. And so that's something I always want to make sure is like when you have a conflict of any sort, whether it's a player who's like being a dick because they're not like, oh, I hate this situation that we're in, or maybe they're lashing out at another player. You make sure like, is that something that's coming from outside the game, or is that just are they just playing their character that moment? And then if they are, you can find solutions either way.
Yeah. I totally agree with that as well. I've had a couple of cases where it seemed pretty tense. And then, immediately after game when they start talking, because we usually stay in the call for 10 minutes after the game.
Yeah.
If they're okay with each other, then I'm like, oh, okay. All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
If there were a case of it's like, all right, this is like very clearly some shit's going on. Probably, pull them aside.
Yeah, that's when you sit down and talk.
Or just kill them. No,
or, not the characters, but the players.
Yeah, obviously. Hire IRL assassins.
Man, I missed this before, but I wanted to thank Zippy SK and Bilbo3 for following. Welcome to the madness, my friends, and also Rustable Tech from before that. I forgot to open Streamlabel, so I didn't see those. But thank you guys for joining us. If you guys are just hanging out, we're here on the Fuzzy Dice Show. It's your Dungeon Master show here on the Exploding Dice channel. I'm hanging out with Jay. Brotato. We've been talking for about an hour. We're probably going to turn it over to viewer questions like you do. So if you guys are just hanging out for the first time, you're just joining us, we'll be taking your questions, topics, no matter how like weirdly personal you want to get on here.
My favorite.
Yeah, they are really the best ones. And so if you have any questions about role-playing games or other things, anything you want, topics you want us to discuss, anything you want to weigh in on, just drop them in chat. Dicelu will remind you about that. Just make sure to either like write the word question or tag at Exploding Dice, so I don't miss them, because sometimes I do if if they get buried in chat. But let's we'll take your topics, your questions, anything like that, and we will try and answer them to the best of our abilities. But I guess while we're waiting for that, real quick, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about it, because you and I think have differing opinions, but I think they might be kind of swapping on modules and adventures and stuff.
Yeah, I fucking hate modules, man. That's pretty much it. I was really surprised that you love them so much. Like, I mean, you also mentioned earlier.
When you say surprised, are you like, I was disappointed to find out?
It was hard. No, I was just curious because I mean, there's a difference between like pulling from modules or running modules, right? I hate running modules because it's not mine. Like I've run Phandelver, and I think immediately within the first 20 minutes to an hour, I was like, I'm better than this. Like I can do better than this. And it's also like you're reading from the page. And I think I've gone before reading from the page and been like, you stumble across the lost mines of Phandelver, pronounced Phandelver. Fuck, I shouldn't have read that out loud. You're in the mines. Like, yeah,
that's funny.
I'm not a huge fan of them, but I'm interested really quick because we do have a question.
Yeah.
Like why you like them so much.
So here's the common reason I give. I've told you, and I've said it on stream once or twice. The story of my first DMing, my first homebrewing experience, which was way back in 4th edition, and it was awful. I was awful at it. And I was kind of just running like a dungeon of the week kind of thing. Like I was just making up stuff on the fly. Like the players were passing by a field of like barrows, and I'm like, okay, if they go into one, I guess there's a dungeon under it and there happens to be a necromancer and some cultists, and they're just casting a big ritual, and you interrupt it. That just happens to be going on right now. Like it was really, really bad. And so I started running. I'm just not a writer really. Like I'm a better editor than I am a writer. And so what I find myself being much better at is going through modules and adventures and rewriting them and making changes that need to be changed so that the story flows a little bit better. And so, adding content where I think content needs to be added. Because I probably couldn't do a better job if I had to write it. Like that's basically the way I look at it.
That makes sense. Taking that into account, that definitely does make sense. To be fair, I don't even know if I'm a really good writer. I just fuck around and hope the players like it. And I actually just realized somebody in chat changed their name to Cronus's character from my Storm King's Thunder session. That is hilarious.
Is that not Cronus? Is it not him?
No, that's not. Which is really, really funny. I thought so as well, but that's pretty goddamn good.
I just checked that, and I'm more interested in the fact that he's following 7 channels.
That's I love it, man. I love it. That is so cool.
Oh Lord. Cool. Yeah. So you want to? We got a couple questions here. Yeah. So why don't we go into them? The first one, Cranky Old Mage says, "Have you ever killed a player or PC because the player was an asshole?" I have not. No, I've not done that. But I
haven't. Have you made their lives harder?
Not really. No. I don't think I've had it. Like I've never had really okay. I had one asshole player, and that was way back in that homebrew game I ran in 4th edition. And I think I kind of made his life harder in the sense that everything that he wanted, he was a min-max bugbear barbarian, and he was like, I can lift like 1,500 pounds. Can I? Like they were in a nobles match. He's like, can I take this bronze statue? I can sell it for a lot of money, and because of the weight and bronze. And I'm like, no. And eventually, he tried to drag it out of the manor, and he kind of gave it to the Thieves Guild, and I literally just made them take it and just never talk about it again. Oh. Like, so I sometimes just shut down people if they want to do really, really fucking dumb stuff, and
Yeah, I go by the rule of cool, right? Where if it's fucking cool enough, then I'm down, right? But if it's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard, no, like absolutely no. Or my favorite saying now, after watching Critical Role, is you can certainly try. Because yeah, man, lift that statue, and okay, you've dislocated your arm for a day, so you have disadvantage on strength checks. Good luck. Right? Good luck.
I have what I have come to dub the 3-try rule, where usually I say no, and I try not say no to as much stuff, but I have a habit of saying no, especially if something seems really dumb. And so like if players want to try and do something, I will usually say no like 2 times. And then if they keep trying, like by the 3rd time in my head, I'm like, I'm being kind of a dick. Like I should just say yes. Yeah. And so by the 3rd time, I'll let it succeed. But by that time, it feels like they kind of feel like they've invested so much that they finally found the solution, and it feels worth it. So that's kind of my way of fudging, fudging through saying no and letting them do stuff.
Yeah, I'm open to anything most of the time, but. There is a point where I can tell I'm being taken advantage of, and it's like, no, dude, of course you cannot fucking do that. There's no way. But also at the same time, like I don't want to take them out of the world, right? So I try to balance it a little bit here and there.
Oh man, what the fuck? Thank you so much. First of all, thank you Maze Arcana for the host, but thank you Brotato fucking dropping in with the 100 and change person host, man. Hey Brad, how you doing, Brad? What's going on?
Brad Wodo.
What's going on, McLokin, Peachy Pixel, Tila? How you guys doing, man? Good to see all you guys.
Oh man, what did Brad say? Oh yeah, Brad. I did try to make a nuclear weapon in Brad's campaign. I promised Brad I will make the first atom bomb in D&D. It's I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but eventually it will happen.
Oh man.
I think we had a couple other questions. If you.
Yes, I will get to them. I just want to say real quick. I'm pretty sure Brad just finished up his Fimble Winter campaign, which I've had a chance to check out. It's really, really good, guys. So if you haven't already, let's get one of my mods drop a shout out for his channel. Go check that stuff out. That Fimbulwinter is some real good stuff. All right, CDIP said, I have never personally.
Can you hear that?
Can I hear what?
Okay, good. My fire alarm's going off, so we're just gonna turn the mic down.
Oh, I guess I can hear it now. I've got music and I got sound effects.
Just
So
keep the music up a little bit.
all right, guys. Jay has a fire, but he's gonna ignore it. It's
Normally, I don't know if they're like, "Hey, it's on your floor," then I gotta go. But, we'll see. It's like 30 floors here.
all right. CDIP says, I've never personally played D&D, but I've started looking at meetup.com, etc. Is it okay to create a book of characters to have at the ready when I eventually do find a group? Yes, sure, why not?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, honestly, like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, if you create a book of characters and you just kind of leave their background and their bonds and what specifically they're tied to in a world basically empty, then you can just any DM would be happy to drop one of those into the world and help you create a cool way, a cool way to work that character in. So yeah, absolutely, definitely make characters. Are you good? What? Are you good?
Yeah, it's on my floor, so
okay.
I mean, I don't have to go. If you want to keep going, I'm just gonna check down the hall if there's any.
Yeah, I'll.
Just keep answering questions. I'll be a second.
So it looks like Jay has a fire. I can't really. I can't help him from here because he's not near me. But we pray that his house does not burn down, guys. Send Jay your good wishes. I've never had someone have to leave for a fucking fire alarm before. I'm on fire, but I can get no, not yet. Keep going. All right. We'll see if he comes back. Yeah, it's all the smoke from his vape. Oh man. So I'm gonna answer another question or two, and we'll see what's going on with him in a second. Rob James Morgan says, how do you manage expectations of players wanting things to happen, i.e. QuickTime moment from video games or Supreme RP moment and don't get it? How do I manage them is I will talk about players about that stuff up front, if a moment is really important to a player, like if they really want an RP moment, there's let them know that it's okay to say, hey DM, this, can I do this? This is really important to me. Or, can I, it would really mean a lot if my character could have this happen or do this, right? If they ask for those kind of things, there's no reason not to. If it improves the game for them and it doesn't sort of ruin it for you, yeah, why not? I don't know if that may be a little bit of a vague answer, so feel free to let me know if that's not in depth enough. Retrovirum says, I understand the game of D&D is supposed to be the story of the DM and the players. How do you go about creating a story with the players and their characters without detracting from the main arc? Okay, that's interesting. And basically the way that I would I hope we don't see smoke on Jay's cam. I hope so. I hope everything is all right. So how do you go about creating an overarching story while also maintaining time for the player narrative? There's no reason not to tie those two things together. There's no reason that the players' personal stories should. Oh, you all good, man? You're not dying?
It smells like burning burgers, so I'm just gonna assume, right? The fire department gets here within like 5 minutes. If it hasn't burnt down my apartment in 10 minutes, I'm probably okay.
Okay.
I also only have one cat carrier, and I have 2 cats and a snake. So, just logistically some shit's going on.
So, but which one would you save then?
Well, I mean, Bosco is like really tame, so I'd throw Flynn in the cart and then just like have Bosco on my neck and the snake in my jacket. I don't know how I would do it, but
well, I'm saddened that you didn't say pants.
I don't want my dick to be bitten by a snake. Sorry, what did I miss? Let's just hope I don't burn down my head.
It's all good. We're I'm just answering a couple questions. So to Retrovirum's question, there's no reason that you can't have the player's personal kind of story arcs and storylines tie directly into the main storyline. Or you can make them separate. For example, my players in Jade Regent, they're headed to a castle called Brinewall. It's very hot. It's very far to the north. They have to take a caravan to get there. Through the time it takes to get there, they're going to pass through the homelands and the birthplaces and of 3 out of the 5 players, right? Which means that there's going to be players, their personal stories that they can work through on the way, and that's basically it. Is you don't have players aren't going to care that the main story isn't like racing through. Especially if they get to work on their personal stuff, tie them together where you can, make them separate where it doesn't fit, and more time to play is more time to play. That's the way I see it.
Brad's actually really good at that, wrapping our stories into the main story and having them pop up. I think that's the best way to bring the characters into the world a little bit more too. Really helps just kind of like hammer it in, like, hey, this is your thing. I did that with Elspeth's character. There was a king that blah blah blah. Some things went on and some things happened, and eventually, she got word that her mother was captured by the king, and eventually found her mother dead after some investigation. And then later on, the paladin, who was like deeply in love with Elspeth's character, got a quest to kill the king to get a sword back for his god. So I love wrapping things around the players and just like this is probably worth it for you.
Brad. I like watching Brad's DMing. He like the stuff he does with like player centric story, like not just on his but also on John Sandman's channel. I think is really really good. And I was just reading the questions and I see Brad say it would be awful if Jay just never came back.
What? Hey, my last appearance was talking about D&D. That's okay.
Lord.
Yeah, I don't know. The fire department usually gets here real quick. So.
All right.
Scenario. I'll fucking, I don't know. Wrap the cats in a blanket, throw them out the window.
Well, we hope for the sake of all your cool stuff behind you that your house doesn't burn down.
Me too, man. Me too.
All right. Morgo Sin says, what are your thoughts on players taking over a stronghold and building a kingdom out of it?
Oh, dude, that sounds badass.
Yeah. If your world has room for it and, and that is something that you can, like, that they can logically take time out of their sort of main quest to do. So, like, for example, if they're in a storyline where there's some pressing, like the moon is gonna crash into the world or something like that, if they don't defeat the necromancer in 5 days, like, yeah, that's probably not enough time for stronghold stuff. But if it fits your world, there's room for it, and they are of an adequate power level and importance and this and that to do that, something like that, yeah, definitely let them do it. I think Matt Colville actually just did a talk on strongholds recently.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So I think Jay and I both say go for it.
Yeah, I like the premise of rooting the players in the story more, and that only gives them, like, I will give them as much agency as they want in the world, and if they have enough gold and eventually they want to go for it, like, why the fuck not? That introduces a whole new level and layer of politics and world that nobody's quite used to, right? So, like. Yeah. Okay. The fire marshal's here. See, it took 5 minutes. Don't put it. So it's real quick. Like the building fire alarm is on. They're all on the exact same circuit, right? So if one goes off, they all go off.
Yeah, that's the way my dorm used to be. Yeah.
And it burns. The whole building has to evacuate. So it like happens like once every 3 days. Never happened on my floor. But
oh Lord. All right, so once again, guys, we're taking live questions and topics here, so if you want to ask a question, get something for us to discuss, just make sure you tag at Exploding Dice, so I will see it, because otherwise it will get buried into chat. And also thank you Retrovirum and Jesus the Tree, or Jesus on the Tree, and Enhanced Mac and Blaster Hino and Chris Bailey and Clem Dog for following. Welcome to the madness, my friends. Thank you for joining us. So once again, questions in chat. Make sure you tag at Exploding Dice so I see them and all that good stuff. Actually, while I was while we're waiting for a question or two, I wanted to ask you, what is your how much, what is your opinion on how much do you invest in like NPC and character voices?
So this is, I think another one of my weakest areas is the voices that I do. Like, despite calling myself a voice actor, I never think they're good enough. I come up with them on the spot. Like, it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of how I voice act as well. I can never usually like find a place and stay there. It has to be like quick bursts, which I'm trying to get better at. But I usually have like I come up with a character, figure out what they would sound like, and then quickly jot it down. And then, like, from then on, that's their voice from there on. Do you do a lot of voices for your campaigns?
Yeah, dude, I'll fucking do everything. Like whether it's a weird dwarf with a like, or a pirate bartender, or like a Russian woman, or like I do everything. And I think female voices are the hardest, but I have a rule, which is just like, if I'm gonna do it, I'm just gonna commit to commit as hard as I can. So like, so like sometimes I'll have to do like a female voice, like a really like a bubbly and energetic and then sometimes you have to do a more subdued female voice, and luckily I have a really high pitched voice myself, like, so it's natural. But I love doing villains and monsters. I will do like an Illidan voice all day if you let me. Like, I'll do a whole show like that. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I love doing the voices. It's usually really intimidating when you have like actual like real voice actors in your campaign.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh shit, what are they?
Well, I play with real voice actors like that, and they never say shit. Like they've never said anything.
Security is like, they didn't say anything, but like, why did their eye twitch? Like, what happened? What did I do wrong? But no, I love. Oh, really? Can you stop? Like, the fire's over. I love doing it for the players. And really, like, D&D is like my voice acting training. So it's always a blast for me, and it doesn't matter, what it is. I'll try and voice it 100%.
Yeah, by the way, what's going on, Connor? How you doing, my friend? Voices are interesting. I one of my very, very first shows way back when, of Fuzzy Dice, this is before I even had guests on. I literally just had one of my players was sitting down and talking. We were talking about voice acting, and I was saying, because none of my players in that old game were really used to doing character voices, right? Like they never had been in a game where that was just a thing they did, and they all said, like, the fact that you and they're talking about me as a DM, like, do like every NPC has a voice, and you just like commit to it, and like even you just keep going. It kind of encouraged them to be like, okay, if I do a voice for my character, like, even when it sounds stupid, and even when I'm kind of I feel like I may just, okay, I'm not going to do it anymore, for like, I'm tired of it for this session. Like, they were encouraged to commit to it and keep working at it. Yeah. I'm not a good voice actor, but I think for me, it's important to commit to, everything you do, because it gives the players, that much more that they can kind of immerse themselves in, and kind of, I feel like if I'm always doing it, like if I'm always in character and always role playing, then it will encourage them to do it more too. Yeah,
I personally, I think the greatest thing that I like for my campaigns is when a player actually gets into character and they start. You can tell they stop like talking in their own voice. They start to develop a voice for their character, and they start to actually role play in that spectrum. And it's like, I'm like a proud dad. Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah. Like, you're so cute. Get in there.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things, man.
Yeah, I love when players stop at, like, when how new players start and be like, can I tell the NPC that, I want to buy? And it's like, I love when it's like, I always say, well, don't tell me, tell them.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love when players just kind of start doing that, and that becomes their thing, and they've immersed themselves into the character, because I'm all about, like, roll as much in character stuff as I can, as can happen.
Yeah, I've had to ask players to stop talking in third person and stop playing in third person, and be like, just jump the fuck in. Like, Stop telling me what your character does. Just say I do.
Just do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Valkyrie 2000 says, do you give your players an orientation? I ask because some players don't realize that they can die? Well, I don't know. I was confused about the question. I was still kind of confused. When you say orientation, are you talking about like a session before the game starts and saying like, hey, by the way, this is how the game goes, this is the tone that we're doing?
Oh, like hey, this is what D&D is.
Like a discussion about what the game's going to be and what are the possibilities, and absolutely, yeah. I'm and this is one of the, I get so many questions about horror games in particular, and I think Brad might want to listen in because he's doing he's going to be doing some Ravenloft stuff. No, but I get so many questions about horror games, and that it works with that, but it works with almost anything. When you want to create a very specific tone for your game, player buy-in is absolutely, the best tool you can have. And so, like, for horror or for anything else, like, it's important to sit down with your players and say, this is the game, this is how things are going to work. This is what we're going for. If things are going to be, like, brutally lethal in your campaign, then, yeah, you should tell them that before you go. Like, don't let them figure that out when their first character dies. Like,
yeah.
Because but yes, definitely sit down for a session 0 and talk about that stuff.
How would people not know you can die in D&D?
I don't know. I mean,
I guess there are people that are new to everything in their own way, right? It's who knows? I guess no, I can't justify it. If you have hit points, you can die. Maybe some people just think it is purely role playing.
I don't know. Like, I just assume I was going along the assumption that it's not just death, it's like everything, I'll talk to players if I want the humor in a campaign to be a little bit toned down because we want to go for a more serious thing, like that's what I'll say at the beginning. Or if I say like, no, this is a lighthearted game, this is that, or this is a game where, death is permanent, whatever. If we're going to do that, then yes, absolutely. Session 0, talk about all that stuff. Club Gaming, he says, let's say I have no experience in D&D, which is true, except for what I have watched. What is the first thing I should do when trying to start a campaign with friends? That's interesting question. I think I would probably say the first thing you should do is get your friends together, get some snacks, and make sure you have some dice, and say like, okay, we don't really care too much about the rules. We don't really care too much about like, making character sheets or anything. It's just, okay, you roll a d20. If it's high, you succeed. If it's low, you don't. And you have a good time, and you get comfortable with role-playing.
Yeah, there's a free version of the Player's Handbook online that's like 30 pages and the basics.
Yeah.
That you can get. Just get like 5 pre-made characters and be like, hey guys, here's what's up. That depends also if you want to DM or if you just want to play. Because finding a DM, I'm realizing like, when I wanted to start my shows, I started to realize just how rare DMs were.
Yeah.
And hence why I, became a DM was because I couldn't find one. And I think that's the number one complaint I hear now when people try and start games at home is they can't find someone to DM, so they start DMing themselves.
Yeah.
If you want to DM, it's easy as fuck to get people together. If you don't want to, it's nigh impossible a lot of the times. So become a DM. We need more.
Yeah, I was the same way. It wasn't because I couldn't find anyone to DM. It was because I had so many DMs where I was like, man, I can do better than this.
Yeah. That was exactly me. Exactly me. I did a session of D&D and I was like, that didn't really tickle my fancy. Like I could do better than this. I could be the one that does better than this. I'm going to be better than this.
Yeah. So. It was a lot of that I saw in Roll20 back in the day. That was kind of what got me into it, because it's like I saw people doing things and I'm like, if I ran a campaign, I would care about it more than this DM cares about their game. Like I would put more effort in. Sorry, but yeah, basic rules, and I say just get together and have a good time and play some D&D or play some role playing. Like learn as you go. It's not No pressure. Sergeant Cal says, what do you guys think of pulling story details from books and movies, not just locations, but story elements? We actually talked about this a little bit. I don't know how much we talked about it on the stream, but I know we talked a bunch beforehand. I'm a big advocate of steal liberally from everything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was better said than anyone but Matt, than by Matt Colville, rather, where he said that D&D first began as a collection of stealing things from other worlds around it, like every RPG and every show and every story that was out at the time. So like, there's nothing wrong with taking things. You know, like I said to you before we started, my first campaign, Ascendance, was based off of this book series on my shelf. Probably not in the camera on the show, but from Guardians of the Moon.
Yeah.
That was what the entire campaign was based off, and then that was my foundation. And eventually, I went off out of there, or off of that point. But like, steal everything. Just make it obscure enough that nobody notices it, right? Go back and watch movies from like 40 years ago that nobody's seen, and take the plots from that and twist it in your own way.
Yeah. I'm an artist by training, and so I like the thing everyone talks about is like, you know, when you're an artist, is like, oh, you know, create your own style. But no one has their own style, right? Everyone's style is just a mashup of their influences, you know? Yeah. It's like, I like the way this person does this thing, this person does this thing. And so my DM style, and I think everyone's DM style should be a combination of that. Like, I love the way Matt Mercer does this, right? And I love the way this guy does this. And I love the way the DM on this podcast does this. And you put those bits you steal the bits that you really like, and you put them together in your own style, and your story can easily be the same way. Like, oh, I love this video game that I've been playing. Yeah. You know, I really want to do something like that. Fucking do it. Like, no one's gonna give you a shit for it. I mean, especially if you reskin it into something else, you know?
Look at Brad Wodo. All of his campaigns are a Final Fantasy game. It's always
he told me that on the show, and I didn't know like whether he was just like actually just stealing it 1-to-1 or
like nigh 1-to-1, yeah. It's, and you know what, like, I mean, he makes his own worlds and pulls his own twist, but like every time we talk D&D, which is rarely but lasts for 6 hours at a time, he's like somewhere halfway through, he's like, you know, I've just realized this campaign that I made is basically Final Fantasy VIII, and this plot line and this NPC is this character. Like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Yeah, it's, again, you know, and I've been doing the same thing. Like, Writhing Moon is a combination of a lot of video games and art styles and things. There's Darkest Dungeon in there. There's Bloodborne in there. You know, there's all these things that I really love, and I'm like, man, I'd love to do stuff like this in a game. And so it was like, I wanted to do something like horror campaign, but I felt like Curse of Strahd had been kind of played out, and everyone knew it, and I didn't want to be just one of those other people. So I think, you know, I was like, well, I'll write something that's kind of like my answer to Curse of Strahd, but it's totally, you know, stolen from all kinds of stuff. Club Gaming says that thank you, that helped a lot. Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Glad that you could use the advice. We're if you guys are just joining us or just want to get a question in, make sure you tag at Exploding Dice so I see it. We're taking some questions and topics and hopefully getting in depth on them and having a good time here on the Fuzzy Dice Show. Thank you, Mugen01 and Club Gaming and Man Bull Moose for following. Welcome to the madness, my friend. By the way, I just realized this the other day. That was a thing that I started saying on my own, because Dice Thulu is our mascot. I did not realize that was also what Call of Cthulhu says on his stream.
Oh, really?
I promise I am not stealing that from him. No one will believe me, but I promise you it's not. Streaming Hawk says, isn't any D&D based on Lord of the Rings book? Wasn't Tolkien the first D&D style? No. Gary Gygax's his original D&D stuff was actually based on a game called Chainmail, which was a war game, like with a tactical medieval war game. And then on top of it, he added a lot of like European fantasy elements to it. I don't think it was directly taken. Like Greyhawk and all that is definitely not ripped off Lord of the Rings, though I wouldn't be surprised if there were definitely Lord of the Rings influences in there.
Probably, yeah, but yeah, no, Lord of the Rings didn't influence D&D to become a thing 100%. It was because that was back when war games were a thing, which was like the mail-in or email games where it would take like 2 weeks to get a response because you'd have to pen it in and then mail it to your players and then get your responses back and then write out the story again and mail it to all your players and then get them back. I couldn't imagine that, man.
Brad says my Ravenloft campaign is impossible to rip off Final Fantasy. So
God.
original content and viewership goes down the toilet. No, I love you, Brad. You know I do. I will play 50 Cent and the Dragon's Cave if you decide to run it.
What is 50 Cent and the Dragon's Cave?
I just dropped in chat. I just said Brad, please DM for me, and he said I'll DM a one shot for you called 50 Cent and the Dragon's Cave.
I want to be a gangster.
Yeah, you don't know this. I've never said this on stream, but when I learned my first experience with RPGs was back when I was like 13 or 14. I was working at a summer camp, and one of my friends brought in his old a bunch of books, and he was like, "Hey, you want to play this?" And we were playing D20 Modern, which is D20 is like a generic, role-playing system, and D20 Modern is like the not quite, I guess, sort of cyberpunk-ish, but it's more like modern day stuff. And so we were literally just playing this game where we were 13 years old and we were rolling around this compound killing people and taking their bling and their G-Unit sneakers. And this is like when I was like 13 in 2003 or 2002. I don't remember. It's a long time ago, but so horrible.
Oh,
is it 50 Cent based? I don't know, man.
50 Cent would be the best DM ever.
Would he?
Have you seen the Key and Peele?
Yes,
D&D?
I have. Yeah.
I fucking is the Eye of Odin opens up. 16 titties fall out. That's such a good skit, man.
Oh Lord. Oh man, we need other questions. We're just gonna talk about this all night.
We're talking about 50 Cent all night, man.
50 Cent and titties. That's how it goes.
50 Cent and the Eye of Odin and titties.
Tolkien didn't invent dwarves. That's not true. Please teach me how to D&D. I maybe
actually, Mr. Dorkabilly in the chat there, who just asked that, is the man that got me into D&D.
Oh shit.
He is the man that he came up to my place and we went to a hobby shop nearby, got the player's handbook, got the DM's guide, and I remember I was looking through my Instagram a couple of weeks ago and I saw the post that I made of the DM's guide, and I was like, potential exciting things to come, and fucking here we are, like a year and a half later. I'm still as trash as I was back then.
And look where it's landed you. You slumming it on Twitch.
Said, what did I do? I will slum for money. Gonna make a sign that says "Will slum for money."
Don't tell him how much I'm paying you to be here.
7 cents.
Via PayPal.
Via PayPal. They took all of it.
Is that even 1 bit?
7 bits.
Is it really?
Yeah. 1 bit is 1 cent.
Oh. Well, then I'm gonna get my 7-bit badge today, kids. Earning it today. If you guys have any other questions in chat, please drop them in chat. Make sure to tag @ExplodingDice so I see them.
That's a good one.
What's up? What does Brad have?
Brad's question. What's your favorite monster? Mine is a Grell.
Oh my god, I say this. I am not shy about saying this. I don't know if I didn't see Brad's question. Maybe I should have him in ignore. My favorite monster will always be an Otyugh.
Oh, what?
What?
What's the
Mom,
first letter?
Mom, he doesn't know what an Otyugh is.
Oh, hold on. Wait, I got the monster manual out. 248. Let me see it.
An Otyugh is a giant fucking, it is a trash monster. It is a giant stomach and mouth with tentacles, and it eats trash and garbage and corpses, and it's the coolest thing ever. Not just because it looks really cool, but also because before 5th edition, they spoke common.
Oh, wow.
and it's my favorite thing because I love when players kind of meet an Otyugh and they don't know what the fuck is going on, and then it starts talking to them.
Yeah, in 5e it has telepathy as well. That's interesting.
Yeah, they did that. I think they added, but oh my
Yeah.
god, it's my favorite fucking monster.
I think my favorite monster is actually a homebrew monster, which is a
That doesn't
Rusalka.
count.
Yes, it is. It is. It does. It's a classic play off of like the Siren or the Lady of the Lake, Rusalka, the woman made of bones, but above the water she's a beautiful elf or human or whatever is like appeasing to the player, and she just drags them down into the depths with them. One of my favorite monsters. 200%.
I'm really, if we're talking interesting monsters, I really like the Savage Morticians from Writhing Moon. They're just these horrible, like, once were people, but now they're like abominations of flesh, and they have like the metal braces on their body that kind of keep their weird, and like their arms are replaced with surgical tools. One of them butchered a player took him apart in seconds. It was fucking.
Wow.
I love them. I wish I could take credit for creating them, but Streaming Hawk says, have you seen the Wormwood DM set reactions? I know Jay loves them. Do you have Wormwood stuff? I have the only Wormwood stuff I have is I have these.
The dice chests.
They sent me a whole bunch of dice vaults to give away, and I still have a couple left.
Yeah, I have Wormwood stuff in passing, right? I have what they've sent us to give away.
Yeah.
The only other thing would be like the dice chest that my ex bought me, which now like I've got it. So I've got the dice vault where I keep the one set of dice that I use for the campaign. After the campaign's done, it goes up on the shelf. So the one for Ascendance is actually like right behind me right there, and then eventually those will just stack up more and more. Those are the only things I have. I think they've told me that they wanted to send me a full set. I would be happy with just the DM screen because that thing is fucking. Oh my god!
I know.
Amazing.
I keep saying I wish I played around a table, but my wallet thanks me for not doing that anymore because like I would be so bankrupt with the fucking Wormwood and the Dwarven Forge and all that shit. Like I would be so bankrupt.
Yes.
But no, I've seen all their stuff and I don't actually have any Wormwood stuff except the stuff that they sent me. I've been really actually one of our sort of sponsors now is Elderwood Academy, and they make wooden stuff, and they're hooking me and my players up with dice chests for everyone. But I'm trying to get dice rolling trays to my players so we can use actual dice instead of Roll20 dice. Because I think that'd be cool, but yeah, I wish I could afford the Wormwood stuff, man. I saw it at PAX, and I was like, it's nice.
Yeah,
but...
I saw Elderwood at PAX. They had some pretty awesome stuff from what it looked like.
Yeah, their stuff is really, really cool, and they'll like custom make fucking anything for you.
Yeah, I speaking of like playing from home, like I'm itching to get a campaign started up at home because I miss DMing in person. There's just like a special magic about it, right? About being able to whisper people, about being able to like see their reactions to things, and for them to see your face and like hear just like your inflection and your intonation live in person. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Like especially when something is scary or worrisome, and you can see the actual look on their face right there in front of you. It's good shit. It's my favorite.
Yeah, I tell people this a lot. I wish I didn't have a wall like right here behind me, because if I was doing in-person stuff, I would absolutely like get up and walk around the table and like act and emote and stuff like that. Yeah. Because I love that shit, but I don't have the ability to do it.
I'm planning on hopefully getting one of the Geek Chic tables, one of the gaming tables soon.
Oh man,
throwing it in our house. And
do you need roommates? Are you looking for?
I'm trying to get more people up to Toronto. Yeah, because I fully know, like, the second that happens and the second we get a home campaign, Dwarven Forge, like, I'm there. Wormwood, I'm there. Like, I'm in it. I'm buying it.
Bank account crying.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, have my accountant like, why did you buy $3,000 worth of this? Like, tax write off. It was
It's for business, I promise.
Couldn't pay rent that month, but we're okay. We're okay.
But I got a ton of likes on the tweet about Dwarven Forge.
Yeah. Dwarven Forge retweeted me, so it's okay.
Oh Lord. Retroferum says, have you ever spent a lot of time on an NPC or monster, then cry when it dies to the players? I have spent a lot of time on NPCs and stuff. The thing about it is, and this is a very important rule that I think every DM learns eventually, but I think they should learn before they start, is never put something in a fight if you're not prepared for that thing to die.
Have you seen Westworld without any
Yes.
spoilers?
Yes, I have.
Do you know what I'm referencing? Do you know the scene that I'm referencing? The
Maybe?
paint it black scene.
Maybe. It's been a while since I saw the show.
Where they have the storyteller saying like, this is my greatest masterpiece, that I've been working on this for weeks. He's about to do a big speech.
Oh, and okay, yeah. I got it. Yeah.
That is like when I think of NPCs now, when I want to make a good NPC now, I always think back to that scene, and I put a little less work into an NPC after that, just a little less work.
Again, it's and you're right about that. Like it's definitely a truism that first of all, again, anything that you put time and effort into it, the players will. There's a likelihood that they will just ignore it, or they will veto it, or they will go somewhere else. And if you put something in combat, and in your mind, like, okay, this guy's gonna fight, but he has a thing to do later in the story, so he needs to live through this combat. He's not gonna live through the combat, right? If you give an NPC like 10 ways to get out of a fight, he will not get out of that fight, I promise you. Because the players will fucking lock him down. They don't know that he has ways to get out of the fight. They will just lock him down, and it'll go badly, and then you'll be just real sad. Do not put anything into a fight if you're not prepared for that thing to die right then and there. Mm-hmm. That's just the way. Because it'll happen. They'll kill it. If you put your boss in, like, it's not like a video game where the boss can just like one shot them down to 1 health. You could do that, I guess, but it'd be really shitty to do. Like, or a fight just ends when the cutscene starts playing. Like, it doesn't work like that.
I keep anything important as far away from any encounter that could ever possibly happen.
From
now on.
Yeah, and that's
still somehow the players will find a way to bring combat to them. Like, this is an ally. Yeah, no, we don't believe you. We attack him.
Yeah.
Right?
I speaking of that, that reminds me, there's an NPC my players have been fucking with for a while, and they don't know the secret about him. They don't know that he's really a Rakshasa. But one of the players has his suspicions, and it was the funniest thing because I just finally used the official art from the module, like, as the splash screen for Roll20, because I always have a splash screen that their tokens on it, says what the name of the chapter we're in, and in that art there is a Rakshasa and he's doing some magic and stuff. And so I went into Photoshop and I replaced the Rakshasa's head with like just a dude's head, and on the this just happened the other day. I just covered that thing on Roll20 up with the token of one of the players who's not playing for, at the moment, right? He's out of the game for a little while. And so I covered the photoshopped on head with a token because I thought it'd just look casual. And one of my players was like, he's like, hey, can you move John's token? Because I want to, and I'm like, why? He's like, because I want to see that guy's head. And then I moved, because he's like, because I think there's something under it. And I moved the token, and it's just a fucking dude's head, and he's like, oh, you fucking dick! Because he thought his theory was going to be confirmed, but it wasn't.
That's funny. Rakshasas are really, really interesting.
I love them, man.
Monsters. I think I've loved them ever since I saw Mercer use them in Critical Role, and I was like, I think that's how you use them. Like that's a perfect way to do it, right?
This one is actually the leader of he's posing as the head of a noble house, and he runs a huge drug trade and stuff. Like, he's a legit person within the city, really well respected, connections everywhere. Also happens to be a Rakshasa with a dungeon full of nastiness under his house.
I love it.
Oh man, Rob James Morgan, we were talking about the dice boxes stuff, just points out there's lots of good Etsy makers. Yeah, man, I'm definitely down to go check out some Etsy makers for stuff like that. Streaming Hawk once again says, what is your opinion on the Deck of Many Things? Never use it, ever.
Yeah.
Unless you want a campaign to die then and there. That's the best I can say.
Yeah, I don't know why you ever would, right? I normally when I see a DM introduce the Deck of Many Things, it's like, okay, they're getting ready to end the campaign.
Basically,
like,
yeah.
you know, they're getting ready to kill the campaign pretty soon. That's okay. You know, that's
Yeah.
because that just destroys their campaign. Why would you ever want a Deck of Many Things in your campaign?
That was basically my reaction to the whole Critical Role thing when he introduced the deck, and I'm like, all right, either Matt just didn't know what he didn't have his next story segment planned yet, and he just wanted to buy himself some time, or he was just perfectly fine ending the campaign right there.
Yeah.
You know, like, because there's no other reason to put that in a even if you roll that on a treasure table, you'll be like, next item over.
You get a +1 sword. Sorry,
Yeah.
buddy. You know, yeah.
Yeah. There's just too much that can go wrong with it that that it's not worth handing it to a players. Yeah. Though I have no problem with making it the end goal of a campaign. If you make a part of your story about the players like assembling the Deck of Many Things or something like that, that could be a really interesting story. Neat. And then like at the end, they get like right before the campaign essentially ends, they can like choose what to do with it. Up to them. But yeah, I would not use it in an ongoing campaign. Angel Fall 15 says, any tips on not metagaming in campaigns as much? Because I feel bad for my DM when I do that. Yes, I do have some tips on that, honestly, because taking meta knowledge out of the hands of my players is a huge thing for me. So I have a lot to say on that, but I'm interested. Are you like? Do you care that much about meta information or table talk, that kind of stuff?
I did until I started actively playing. And I think now, like, I would suggest always playing in a campaign while you DM or before you DM, because it opens up a lot of avenues and experience. I used to absolutely hate metagaming until I started playing, and we had a session where
hold on 1 second. I think
stream drop?
No. Looks like we're all, it's back up now. I think it had an issue.
Oh, no worries. So yeah, until we had a session where for like 20 minutes we metagamed and we made a plan, and then I realized like the purpose of table talk. I think if it's destructive, if it's hindering the campaign, then I'll definitely take issue with it, and I'll be like, yo, listen, stop, and then start to punish. But I mean, you said like withholding meta information. How would you do that? Because I don't know how I could not give them information as a DM.
Yeah, hold on. I'm because a couple of people saying we're having issues, and so I'm just making sure chat's all right. It looks
decently okay on my end.
No, OBS is telling me it's fluctuating a little bit. We're good now. OBS is kind of fucking with me a little bit. So it might be an OBS thing. It might be a thing on my end. Let me see if I can do something about it. Exit, quit Discord, quit this.
Is it like an encoding overlord or just dropping frames?
It's not dropping frames. It's just my thing's going red. I don't know why that is.
I think that's internet.
Yeah, sometimes my internet has issues.
There's been so many issues. So we had a fire alarm earlier. Now we have buffering.
1 sec, working on it.
Hey, I mean, it's streaming. These things.
It's all good. Quote, what is it? Quote 4, I think. We here at Exploding Dice, we are only the most professional. Yes. I'm trying to. You know what? I'm gonna stop the stream and